Hey guys, good evening. Welcome to our Monday class. For the new guys here, every Monday we have a topic that talks about how to build your dream marriage. It's for married men, how to reconnect with your wife emotionally, intimately. We go deep. We get to the root, the fundamentals of what's ruining marriages. If you are looking to build the passion, the respect, the connection with your wife, you are in the right place. If you want to even get past that wall around your wife's heart, you are in the right place. What we're going to talk about tonight is subconscious communication. And if you hear me, guys, give me a thumbs up or a love so I know that you can see me, okay? We're going to talk about subconscious communication, how to read your wife's mind, why it's critically important, the right way of doing it, the wrong way of doing it, the traps that people fall into when they try to do it. And this is very deep, very important. And I do have to tell you, especially for the new guys, that you should watch the previous two videos because this class is a bit advanced. You'll gain a lot from it. You'll open up your mind. It's going to blow your mind. But the past two videos really lay down some important fundamentals that you need in order to understand the big marriage traps that people fall into, how to avoid them, how to really understand where you and your wife are in the process of marriage transformation, or what are the challenges that you're facing. So it's really important, okay? So I definitely encourage you to watch the previous two videos because it's going to give you important fundamentals. But today we're going to focus on subconscious communication. Really, really important things, things that, again, took me over a decade to figure out in my own marriage, a decade of pain, years and tears, a lot of suffering, a lot of aggravation, a lot of misunderstanding between me and my wife. Thank God we're past that. We're a nice few years past that. But I'm going to share with you things that I've learned that have just been, it absolutely was a game changer for me, and you may find it to be a game changer for you. But I want to recap some basics so you understand the context of this video. There are symptoms and fundamentals. It's really important to understand this. And in fact, if you don't understand this, nothing I say is going to matter, really. Okay, so guys have problems in their marriage, like I did. And there are different types of problems. Some guys have communication issues. There's no communication. Their wife ignores them, or she disrespects them, or they argue. They have communication, it's just not effective communication. Or they don't have any intimacy, or the intimacy it sucks. It's just a chore. It's transactional. It's either non-existent or just unpleasant. It's not emotionally fulfilling. There's no respect. She mouths off at them, sometimes in front of the kids. There's no trust. There's a wall around her heart. They're like roommates. There's a coldness. There's different types of symptoms. Your marriage problems are way more than just the symptoms. In other words, the symptoms are the result of the problem, and the root of the problem, we call them fundamentals. All right. And if you've seen the previous videos, we talk about marriage cancer and all that. We're not going to go into that right now, but it is important to understand that there are symptoms and fundamentals. And in order to heal a marriage, you have to stop dealing with the symptoms, because if you deal with symptoms, you talk about the sex, and you talk about the disrespect, and you talk about the communication, you talk about the arguments you have with the kids, or the financial disagreements, or you just, talk about if you did what she wanted, or you didn't do what she wanted, or what else do you want, and you try to please her, you try to just do whatever she wants, and you'll never finish with symptoms, because symptoms will keep coming and coming, because the root of the marriage has a disconnect. There's something painful going on between the two of you, which is causing this problem. And that's why, despite your best efforts, it's going to either remain stuck or will continue to backfire. So the key over here is to, first of all, understand that there's a fundamental difference between symptoms and fundamentals. All right, guys, if this makes sense to you, let me know if you relate to this, if you have experienced this in your marriage. And one of the keys, another way to just know if you have a deeper issue, is if your symptoms are stuck. Like if despite your best efforts, it doesn't move, like you do everything she wants and you just don't get anywhere, then you certainly without a doubt have a deeper issue. Okay, so today we're going to talk about subconscious communication, how to get into your wife's head. All right, now that you have that foundation of what I just said before. So why is it important to get into your wife's head? This is not a game. It's not a joke. It's not something cute. It's actually critically important. The reason why it's important to get into your wife's head and be able to sort of read her thoughts, her thought patterns, and her emotional patterns is because any stuck marriage, any marriage where we're talking about assuming the husband is a decent guy. We're not talking about where you're real, asshole. Okay. I hate to say it. Like, we're talking about, look, if you're a decent guy, you really mean well. And if your marriage is stuck, you don't have the connection you want, you don't have the passion, you don't have the respect, you don't have the communication, you don't have that romance and that flirtatious relationship that you used to have, then the reason is every single time because the wife is looking at you through a straw. All right. She's looking at you through a straw and she sees only specific things about you and she doesn't see the rest of you. Sometimes I talk about the 5%, the 95%. Let me know if you heard me ever talk about it. I don't know if I've ever spoken about it in this group, but I've spoken about it in the past in our other groups that we've had. So the way it works is that a wife literally zeroes in on 5% of the things that you're saying or doing, and then her feelings are based on that. Like her feeling, like if she will feel love or not, if she feels respect for you or not, her opinion of you, her trust of you will be based off of that. And that's why it's so important to understand that. I'm going to just have like a straw over here. I'm going to, it's like literally like this. It's like she's looking at you through a straw and all she sees is like the color black because I'm looking at at a black thing on the wall, right? It's true, there's a little bit of black, but there's a lot more than just black. But she can literally see only a little bit of you. That is the fundamental root of the disconnect between husband and wife, or what we call marriage cancer for those guys who watched the previous videos. And in order to be able to identify that 5% that she sees, you have to be able to get into her head. You have to be able to see what she sees, read what she reads, and respond to that intelligently, consistently, and shock her by showing her that you know what's going on in her head without her telling you. That's critical. It's simply impossible to transform a marriage into a blissful relationship full of passion and respect and appreciation if you don't demonstrate that skill. It's important. If you want to bust through that wall around her heart, that wall it's like an invisible wall, but it's not invisible. It's very real. It's very real. Tell me in the chat if you know what I'm talking about, where that your wife has that wall around. She has that wall around her heart, which keeps blocking your best efforts, which keeps not trusting your best efforts, which keeps pushing you away, or makes her feel like I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Like she loves you in her head, but it's not in her heart, right? In order to get past that wall, you must be able to see 5%. And no matter what you try to do to reverse your marriage, it will be impossible, literally impossible, if you don't see this 5%. And we'll talk more about it soon. We'll give you a couple of more practical examples. All right, you guys are with me? Does this make sense so far? Tell me in the chat, please. All right. Now, there is another very, very important reason why you have to be able to read her mind. And that is, and this is a part that almost nobody realizes, and that is because if you do extra things when you're trying to fix your marriage, those extra things actually end up working against you. So you have to be able to see the 95% of the things that you're saying or doing, which means nothing to her. Either means nothing, or it's actually backfiring at you. I'll give you a real example, okay? Because what I'm saying might sound like a theory. So I'm going to give you a real example. Let's say in your marriage, the problem is, and it varies. Each marriage is different. But let's say in your marriage, the truth is, like if you were able to get into your wife's head, you would see that she feels you're desperate. And when a woman feels that a man is desperate for her, it's not attractive. She cannot desire sex with you if you're desperate for her. She cannot respect you if you're desperate. But let's say that's what the issue is. Here's the deal. If you go ahead and do everything she wants, and you're doing all the dishes, and you're taking care of the kids, and you're paying all the bills, and you're doing everything she wants, and you ask her, sweetie, what can I do for you, blah, blah, and you keep on doing it, you're actually feeding that opinion that she has of you that you're desperate. So you're actually undermining yourself by doing extra. And I've seen this in every single case, every client that I've worked with to turn around their marriage, they were always doing something extra. Actually, there was one exception, but this guy was a real selfish bastard. But it was really, so he was doing very little. He was the opposite, right? But most like 99% of my clients, they were actually doing extra things which were pushing the wife's heart away. So my point is, you have to see subconscious communication is so important because it helps you identify the 5% of things that are important to her. And at the same time, it helps you see the 95% of the things that actually are not just not important to her, but actually make her look at you like you don't get it. Does it make sense, guys? Have you experienced in your marriage that you're doing things and a part of you feels like it's not working, a part of you feels like it's extra, or she's not appreciating you, she doesn't see the effort, or she questions it, or she just changes her list and she just demands more things from you? Right? Put comment in the chat. I'll circle back tomorrow because I can't check it while I'm doing this video. I could see a thumbs up, but I can't check actual comments. So the question over here is, so to recap, you have to be able to read her mind in order to know what to focus on. You also have to know what to eliminate, right? If she has an image of you that you're desperate or manipulative or you're insincere, you got to see that, because chances are, if she has that a picture of you, the more you do actually works against you. So where do you start, right? So how does subconscious communication work? How do you focus? So the first focus is to actually stop working on symptoms, like I said before. Stop worrying about symptoms, because it actually is going to mess up your skill to be able to identify the real areas that matter. But the real areas, you may want to write this down because this is deep. All right, I'm going to go deep with you guys over here. There are 5 areas that will block your wife's heart. 5 fundamental things that will block her heart. And if you have even one of these 5, you will find your marriage stuck. You will find multiple symptoms: sex, respect, communication, finances, arguments, lack of trust, lack of connection. I love you, but I'm not in love with you. All those symptoms. Like you'll see multiple symptoms, 3 or more symptoms. And there are 5 areas. Any one of this will mess you up. And some of you guys, if you have advanced marriage problems, you'll have all 5 of this, or like 3, 4, or 5 of this. Okay, so you may want to write this down. The first one is that she doesn't feel your unconditional love. Now, we're talking about a case where assuming that you have that unconditional love for her. You really love her. She doesn't feel it. In other words, on her emotional radar, she doesn't feel it. She may know it in her head. She may know it intellectually or logically, but she doesn't know it emotionally. It doesn't really sink into her heart. It doesn't penetrate that wall. All right. It's sort of like, I'll give you a silly example. All right. Did you ever take a shower with cold water? With soap and shampoo, right? Soap and shampoo in theory should work, right? But if you've taken a shower with cold water, I don't know why you would do it, but sometimes by default, if you didn't have hot water, it's a nightmare. It's hard to get the soap and shampoo off of you. I did it many years ago, so I know what it was like, right? It's so similarly, it's like the love is theoretically there, but it doesn't go into her. It doesn't penetrate. Like the soap and shampoo, because there's no heat in the water, it doesn't really cleanse you. It doesn't penetrate you, and it's actually hard to get it off. So similarly, if you have, I'm just giving you an example to sort of try to, help your brain unlock and understand what it looks like. You have love, but it doesn't arrive in her heart. That is one reality. If that exists, that will block all your best efforts. So that's where your subconscious communication has to focus on. What am I saying or doing that is making her not feel my love? Area number 1. Area number 2 of subconscious communication. What is the picture she has of you? If a woman has an image of her husband stuck in her head, and I've seen this so many times, I've seen it in my marriage, first of all, and then in like hundreds of my clients and thousands of cases that I reviewed and I saw and observed. One of the things that keep a woman stuck is an opinion she has of her husband, which is stuck in her head. Sometimes the opinion is true. Most of the times, the opinion is not true. It may have one time be true, but it's no longer true. So it may be an opinion that she feels like, oh, he is controlling, he's desperate, he's insincere, he's manipulative, he's selfish, he just wants sex, he's faking, he's not a good listener, right? Whatever it is, there's an opinion she has stuck in her head. That is an area you have to unlock. That is the area to focus on, because that's an area that holds the gate to her heart, that holds the gate to her heart, or holds the gate to her opinions of you. So it literally holds the control to her feelings, and it also holds control over what's going to be her opinion of you. Number 3, another area that will block a woman's heart is if the husband gives in too much, if he sacrifices all the time. He does everything she wants. What happens is the woman goes into a place of thinking, what's his agenda? She may look at you and say, oh, so she won't say it to you, but it's in her head. You're doing all these things for me, but what's your real agenda? Are you manipulating me? Is this temporary? It literally reduces trust. Now, again, I'm not saying you should, in a very, very good relationship, it's okay to sometimes do what your wife wants. But if you're stuck in the pattern of you feel you have to give up on your needs, that you have to give up on your opinions, you have to sacrifice what's important for you, legitimate needs. We're not talking about selfish needs. If you feel you have to do that, that's actually not serving you. That is an area which I'm taking you behind the scenes into your wife's head. And I'm telling you that is something which is actually hurting you. I'm just giving you another practical example of how the 95% actually undermines what's going on. And that's where you have to be able to see what are the things that you're saying or doing, which is making her feel like you're doing extra, making her feel like you're desperate, making her feel like you have an agenda. And if you're giving in on a lot of things and you're doing a lot of things for her, and you're feeling the pressure to do that because you feel stuck, that is a classic area that will block her heart. It's counterintuitive. You would think, hey, if I'm doing everything she wants, she should be happy. But no, it doesn't work that way. And that's why you find that that your marriage stays stuck, or she just changes her mind. Oh, I want you to do something else, or you didn't do it the right way. How many of you guys experience that? Happens all the time. All right. Fourth area, very interesting. The fourth area that will block a woman's heart is if you're surprised when there's an explosion. So things are going well, good conversation, and suddenly the conversation goes south. It goes bad. There's an argument, there's a confrontation, there's a disconnect, and you get surprised. You're like, whoa, what just happened? We were doing so well. Hey, sweetie, what was going on? Last week we were doing so well. What's going on right now? Excuse me. Whenever you show a wife, we're talking about wife, not women, we're talking about wives, right? Whenever you show your wife that you don't understand why things sort of went downhill suddenly, that is an area that irritates women tremendously. Because women expect husbands to know when they're upset and why they're upset. And if you show her that you're surprised, and you show her you're shocked, and you show her like, I don't know what's going on, we're doing well. Whenever you do that, it actually irritates her very deeply. And it puts like a film on her heart. It puts a film on her head that blocks you. It's a film against you. Like a fog or a cloud, however you want to look at it. Because these are really emotional things. So it's hard to describe things in a scientific way necessarily, but they're real. They're very, very real. Emotions are extremely real. In fact, if you're in this group, it's because you've gone through emotional pain, like I did. And they're extremely real. You can't touch them, but they're real. They affect you in a very real way. So I'm just trying to explain it as best as possible. The fifth area, are you guys with me? Does this make sense to you? Say yes in the chat. All right. Let me know if you're with me or if I'm going too fast. The fifth, and I will recap it in a minute. The fifth area which messes around with a woman's heart, and which you have to focus your subconscious communication skills, is to pick up on, well, this is actually a little easier, actually, but it's very important. If you lose emotional control, if you lash out against her, if you get angry, despite your best efforts, that is something which makes a woman lose respect. And even if it happens once in a while, it's sort of like, imagine once in a while where a person, you live with a person and once a month they pick up an axe and they chase you around the house with an axe. I'm giving you a ridiculous example to help you understand what it looks like. In a woman's world, if you lose emotional control of yourself, even if it's once in a while, it is something which she doesn't respect, and it blocks your best efforts. It blocks the other 95% of what you're doing because she's waiting for the next explosion. You know what I mean? In her heart, she's like, okay, when is the other foot going to drop? So to recap these 5 areas, there are 5 areas that hold the key to the 5% that matters most to her. It's like how to see through the straw. You want to see through the straw? There's 5 things your wife is looking at. Okay, look at me, right? There are 5 things your wife looks at. Number 1, she's looking at, does she feel unconditional love or not? Number 2, What's the image that she has stuck in her head about you? Number 3, is he sacrificing all the time? Is he giving up the whole time? That means he has an agenda. Is he giving into my needs? Is he giving into me all the time? So she may enjoy it because she gets some benefit, but it doesn't actually unlock her heart. Number 4, is he surprised by little explosions? And number 5, does he lose emotional control? And ultimately, right? Ultimately, in a simple way, subconscious communication means going into her head to unlock things that matter, to be able to see that 5%, to be able to see that straw. And I'm telling you, these are the 5 areas you got to focus on. These are the 5. Once you get these 5 areas straight, and it's a skill, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not magic, all right? But once you get these things straight, you can literally see things how she sees them. And from that standpoint, you can operate with being much more effective, much more powerful, and really much more strategic, and ultimately more loving, because that's what tears down the wall around her heart. That's what brings back the passion, the connection, the respect. That really allows her to tap back into the part of her that fell in love with you and feel those feelings again. Okay? Now, I just want to say a little bit of common sense. It's impossible to read accurate words in your wife's head. In other words, if anybody tells you, I could read your wife's head accurately, it's not true. In other words, if your wife is thinking, I'll give you an example, right? Bear with me, but this is really important. I want you to understand this. If your wife is thinking the words, tuna or wallpaper, or she's thinking the number 123 or a blue car, you won't be able to see that because it's an irrelevant piece of information. Subconscious communication won't allow you to pass someone's brain and see the actual, literal, irrelevant, silly pieces of information. But when you dial in this skill, you could pick up emotional patterns. You could pick up on things that are blocking her from feeling your love. You could pick up on the opinion she has of you. You could pick up on one of the things you're doing, which is making you look desperate because you're doing too much. You could pick up on the things all these things that matter to her, this 5%, you could absolutely. It doesn't happen overnight. I'm giving you the foundation of how to do it and how to avoid the traps of doing it wrong, right? Like, don't focus on symptoms because then you're wasting your time and your skills won't develop that way. Like, if you're focusing on how do I get her to have sex? How do I get her to have respect? How do I get her to communicate with me? You're not going to get anywhere that way. I promise you. Because those are never the problems. The problems in marriages are not sex, respect, and communication. You may suffer from them, but they're not the real problem. Okay? So this is just really practical, because otherwise you're just going to do things for her. You're going to try to say things to her. You're going to try to convince her or even argue and explain to her or negotiate with her, and you will get nowhere. You'll do everything she wants, but you're not going to get anywhere. You can be a great dad. It won't make a difference. And I'll go further. I'll give you another example. And this is important. You could do, and this is very common, so I just want to talk about it, like the 5 love languages. A lot of guys try to use the 5 love languages, but it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Because let's say you figure out that she wants a physical touch or she wants quality time. Let's say that's her need. Let's say it's true. It's not necessarily true for everybody, but let's say it's true that that's her love needs. The problem is, if you don't know how to subconsciously if you don't know how to read her subconscious, communication, and you can't pick up on the 5% that's ruining your best efforts, what's going to happen is, listen carefully, she may want physical touch, but she won't want it from you. She may want compliments, but she won't want it from you. She may want quality time, but she won't want it from you because you have not demonstrated to her that you're able to subconsciously tap into her heart, into her emotions, and basically into her love and respect for you. So it's just a classic, beautiful, and sad example at the same time of how important subconscious communication. This is not just some cute little gimmick we talk about. It's critical to get into her head, see things the way she sees them from her perspective. And next week, I'll tell you, we're going to talk about something that's going to go deeper. I'm just setting the foundation over here. I'm going to go even deeper and really unlock some more ninja steps, so to speak, that are really going to show you the strategy that we use to help transform marriages. And I think you're going to love it. Our goal over here is that you should bust out once and from all from the crazy cycle of the ups and the downs, the sharp roller coaster, emotional roller coaster that most of you guys are stuck in your marriage. That's our goal. Our goal isn't just to inspire you. It's not my goal. Okay, you may enjoy this video, but my goal isn't just that you should enjoy it. My goal is you should actually take action and become the man that she needs, the husband that she needs, and ultimately the father to your kids and the role model to your family of what a beautiful marriage should be. And please comment on the video what your experience is, how you relate to it, any questions you have. All right? Take care and God bless you. And I will circle back tomorrow to check and respond to comments. All the best.